We back like we never left. What's going on? It's your boy Medical Montana here with episode 3, Shashemonie420 Podcast with, like I said, Medical Montana. A little late right now. I want to send a shout out to my lovely daughter, Zoe. She turned 11 today. I want to give another shout out to my lovely cousin, um, Kiona, and her mate, Jen. They are tying the knot tomorrow. And I am the head usher. So I'm supposed to be over there at their wedding party, but I'm here tonight. Tonight is a special night, as I'm getting into the cannabis industry. And I still got something going on down here. Let me mute this thing here. Getting into the cannabis industry, and I'm seeing a lot of people uh, jumping in. I thought it would be kind of important to see where I learned about the cannabis industry from. It was about 1993 when a friend of mine from high school, I was the only person that had a car. She had these tickets. And let me remind you that, I didn't start smoking cannabis till I think it was like my sophomore year, after my sophomore year going into my junior year. So I was about 16, 17. And she had these tickets and she's like, hey, let's go see Jack Herrera. Well, this is before the internet and all this type of stuff. So if you didn't dig deep and know, you didn't know. Like, who's that? Well, I went and seen this guy and he educated me so much on hemp, cannabis, and whatnot. I began to follow this guy and, I got the honor to meet him at the 2007 Hemp Fest, and we hung out for a little bit and chopped it up. He was a little older then. He ended up passing away not too much longer after that, but it was still an honor to see him, all those years later. And one documentary that he had us watch, and I'm going to put this on now, it was called, what is that? The War on Hemp? The War on Hemp or something like that. But it was in 1942 where the government actually put out this the United States government actually put out this encouraging farmers to grow hemp, not cannabis and let's get high, but hemp. And it seems like now that we are going legal and going into that direction, where's the emphasis on hemp? Where's the emphasis on hemp? It's more like THC, and this is a potent medicine. This medicine can, you know, do a lot of things to a lot of different people if it's not used right, just like any other medicine. But hemp actually was fibers. It was, I mean, that's where the real money was at, because this is up in smoke. You get this and it's gone. But hemp actually lasts for damn near ever. You know what I mean? We got a hemp concrete, we got hemp oil that can run gas, run cars, just it's just it's mind blowing. But I want to go into this documentary that he had us watch. So if you guys hold on 1 second, and then stick around because I got some good shit coming on for you guys later on. But I'm paying my respects to Jack Herrera tonight. I got my brother Celeste from San Francisco joining later on. I got a couple live things we're gonna bring in later on, but we're gonna go into this here. Hold on 1 second. We're gonna share this screen right here, and I want y'all to check this out. So roll your blunt and check this out. Sorry for the quality, but like I said, it's 1942.
including an anchor cable 25 inches in circumference. The Conestoga wagons and prairie schooners of pioneer days were covered with hempen canvas. Indeed, the very word canvas comes from the Arabic word for hemp. In those days, hemp was an important crop in Kentucky and Missouri. Then came cheaper imported fibers for cordage, like jute, sisal, and manila hemp, and the culture of hemp in America declined. But now, with Philippine and East Indian sources of hemp in the hands of the Japanese, and shipment of jute from India curtailed, American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy, as well as of our industries. In 1942, patriotic farmers, at the government's request, planted 36,000 acres of seed hemp, an increase of several thousand %. The goal for 1943 is 50,000 acres of seed hemp. In Kentucky, much of the seed hemp acreage is on river bottom land such as this, along the Kentucky River Gorge. Some of these fields are inaccessible except by boat. Thus, plans are afoot for a great expansion of the hemp industry as a part of the war program. This film is designed to tell farmers how to handle this ancient crop, now little known outside Kentucky and Wisconsin. This is hemp seed. Be careful how you use it. For to grow hemp legally, you must have a federal registration and tax stamp. This is provided for in your contract. Ask your AAA committeeman or your county agent about it. Don't forget, hemp demands a rich, well-drained soil such as is found here in the bluegrass region of Kentucky or in central Wisconsin. It must be loose and rich in organic matter. Poor soils won't do. Soil that will grow good corn will usually grow hemp. Hemp is not hard on the soil. In Kentucky, it has been grown for several years on the same ground, though this practice is not recommended. A dense and shady crop, hemp tends to choke out weeds. Here's a Canada thistle that couldn't stand the competition. Dead as a dodo. Thus, hemp leaves the ground in good condition for the following crop. For fiber, hemp should be sown 5 pecks to the acre. With drill, the closer the rows, the better. These rows are spaced about 4 inches. This hemp has been broadcast. Either way, it should be sown thick enough to grow a slender stalk. Here's an ideal stand. The right height to be harvested easily, thick enough to grow slender stalks that are easy to cut and process. Stalks like these here on the left, they yield the most fiber and the best. Those on the right are too coarse and woody. For seed, hemp is planted in hills like corn, sometimes by hand. Hemp is a dioecious plant. The female flower is inconspicuous, but the male flower is easily spotted. In seed production, after the pollen has been shed, these male plants are cut out. These are the seeds on a female plant. Hemp for fiber is ready to harvest when the pollen is shedding and the leaves are falling. In Kentucky, hemp harvest comes in August. Here, the old standby has been the self-rake reaper, which has been used for a generation or more. Hemp grows so luxuriantly in Kentucky that harvesting is sometimes difficult, which may account for the popularity of the self-rake with its lateral stroke. A modified rice binder has been used to some extent. This machine works well in average hemp. Recently, the improved hemp harvester, used for many years in Wisconsin, has been introduced in Kentucky. This machine spreads the hemp in a continuous swath. It is a far cry from this fast and efficient modern harvester to the Armstrong model of yore. But here's one kind of harvester, at least, that doesn't stall in the heaviest hemp. In Kentucky, hand cutting is practiced in opening fields for the machines. In Kentucky, hemp is shucked as soon as safe after cutting, to be spread out for retting later in the fall. In Wisconsin, hemp is harvested in September. Here, the hemp harvester with automatic spreader is standard equipment. Note how smoothly the rotating apron lays the swath preparatory to retting. Here it is a common and essential practice to leave headlands around hemp fields. These strips may be planted to other crops, preferably small grain. Thus, the harvester has room to make its first round without preparatory hand cutting. Here the machine is running over corn stubble. When the cutter bar is much shorter than the hemp is tall, overlapping occurs. Not so good for retting. The standard cut is 8 to 9 feet. The length of time hemp is left on the ground to ret depends on the weather. The swaths must be turned to get a uniform ret. When the woody core breaks away readily, like this, the hemp is about ready to take up and bind into bundles. Well-retted hemp is light to dark gray. The fiber tends to pull away from the stalk. The presence of stalks in the bowstring stage indicates that retting is well underway. When hemp is short or tangled, or when the ground is too wet for machines, it is bound by hand. A wooden buck is used. Twine will do for tying, but the hemp itself makes a good band. When conditions are favorable, the pickup binder is commonly used. The swath should lie smooth and even with stalks parallel. The picker won't work well in tangled hemp. After binding, hemp is shucked as soon as possible to stop further retting.
Like a little teepees.
In 1942, 14,000 acres of fiber hemp were harvested in the United States. The goal for 1943 is 300,000 acres. Thus, hemp, Cannabis sativa, the old standby cordage fiber,
Sativa.
is staging a strong comeback. This is Kentucky hemp going into the dryer of a mill at Versailles. In the old days, breaking was done by hand, one of the hardest jobs known to man. Now the power breaker makes quick work of it.
I like to see some 2022 hemp machines. That's some old school shit right there, Jack.
Spinning American hemp into rope yarn or twine in the old Kentucky River Mill at Frankfort, Kentucky. Another pioneer plant that has been making cordage for more than a century. All such plants will presently be turning out products spun from American-grown hemp. Twine of various kinds for tying, winding armatures, and upholsterers' work. Rope for marine rigging and towing, for hay forks, derricks, and heavy-duty tackle. Light-duty fire hose.
Fire hoses? California need a whole lot of fire hoses.
Thread for shoes for millions of American soldiers.
We need thread for shoes. There's a lot of kids in the community that ain't got shoes.
For our paratroopers.
They can have that. I ain't jumping off no plane with no hemp parachute or nothing.
As for the United States Navy, every battleship requires 34,000 feet of rope, and other craft accordingly. So here in the Boston Navy Yard, where cables for frigates were made long ago, crews are now working night and day making cordage for the fleet. In the old days, rope yarn was spun by hand. Today, even the rope walk is mechanized. 160 fathoms to go. The rope yarn feeds through holes in an iron plate.
Hey, can you imagine getting wrapped up in that, though? What if homeboy got wrapped up in the ropes? Oh, nah. They can have that job.
This is Manila hemp from the Navy's rapidly dwindling reserve. When that is gone, American hemp will go on duty again. Hemp for mooring ships. Hemp for tow lines. Hemp for tackle and gear. Hemp for countless naval uses, both on ship and shore. Just as in the days when old Ironside sailed the seas victorious, with her hempen shrouds and hempen sails. Hemp for victory.
Yeah, homeboy showed me that, man, and I was like, wow, they did all that with weed? You know what I mean? Like, that's a trip right there, you know? And it's so much more. Uh-oh. Hold on one second, y'all.
Spring morning in Manhattan. A perfect day for a march down Broadway. But on this day, for this crowd, the Big Apple isn't exactly rolling out the red carpet.
5, 6, 7, 8, marijuana's not today. 5, 6, 7.
There are delays and confusion about where to gather. Mayor Rudy Giuliani waits until the very last minute to issue the necessary permit. But several thousand show up anyway, and eventually this ragtag army begins the long trek to Battery Park. The marchers have all come together this day for various reasons, but with one common voice: to protest the United States policies on marijuana. The marchers are cordially escorted by a phalanx of New York's finest. Or so it seems. Business as usual in America's war on drugs.
They're not going to get rid of us that easy.
For the last 30 years, a hardcore band of activists has been fighting the war on marijuana in what they see as a struggle for truth and justice. One man among them stands apart. He has been described as a cult folk hero, a boisterous rabble-rouser, a crazy
Say his
man.
name.
His name is often mispronounced. He likes to say it rhymes with terror. But one thing is certain: Because of him, we enter the next millennium with a new knowledge of an ancient plant. A plant whose present-day revival was sparked by this man's 1985 best-selling book. The book revealed the lost history of the hemp plant, and in doing so, lit a fire under a legion of followers the world over. Its title is The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Its author is known as the father of today's burgeoning hemp movement. His name is Jack Herer.
Sometimes I can't help the feeling that I'm living a life of illusion. And oh, why can't we let it be and see through the hole in this wall of confusion? I just can't help the feeling I'm living a life of illusion.
At 60 years of age, Jack Herer has been stumping for hemp nearly half his life. It's been a long, strange, and decidedly uphill journey.
Right between the eyes. Oh, how nature loves her little surprises.
That was a good dude right there, y'all.
But he trudges onward despite ill health, somehow turning on the passion when the curtain goes up.
Listen, they've outlawed the natural, and I say we've got to take it back by standing together. Make it legal million man. Make it legal million man march next year. Make it 2 million. Come to New York next year. Mayday.
There was a time, not too many years ago, that Jack Herer's ideas about hemp were deemed irrational, extreme, off the wall. But today, those harsh judgments seem like a distant memory.
Jack Herer's great genius was in introducing a broader vision of the economic value of the hemp plant.
I didn't know anything about hemp or the fact that there was a movement until Jack sat me down one night.
He is what you might call a force of nature.
He did
I've
the
met
same
several
thing to
people
me.
in my lifetime, who I would judge as having such fiery intensity within them that approve of them or disapprove of them, you have to acknowledge that they are forces of nature.
I saw Jack as a Michiganer, a crazy man. And particularly when it came to this whole idea that hemp was going to somehow revolutionize the world and revolutionize the marijuana reform movement. And so Michiganer is the right word for Jack.
I don't know if I'd have
Jack
been wanting
Herer
to
was
smoke
an
that weed
unlikely
back then,
candidate
though.
for Emperor of hemp.
Looked like that
He
weed
was
was
born
cracking
into
in.
a conservative, middle-class Jewish family in 1939 and grew up in Buffalo, New York. He led a normal, happy life there until his 41-year-old father died of a heart attack when Jack was only 14. Within a span of 3 years, Jack went from Boy Scout to high school dropout. To avoid a 2-week jail term for driving after dark with a junior license, 17-year-old Jack Herer enlisted in the Army. He quickly adapted to military life. The gung-ho soldier
Instead
served
of going to
honorably as an
jail for
MP
2
in
weeks,
post-war Korea.
he went to
By
the
the
Army.
mid-60s, Jack was out of the Army and back into a normal middle-class lifestyle. Wife, 3 small children, a ranch house in the San Fernando Valley in California, and a series of routine managerial jobs. Army duty had made him proud of his country. He was a Goldwater Republican. He believed in old-fashioned American values, and he supported the country's growing involvement in Vietnam.
Well, I had done 3 years in the military. I believed I was right on guy. I believed America was always the good guy. It was, always the most decent, right on people on the earth.
silver in my tambourine. Help a poor man build a pretty dream. Give me pennies, I'll take anything. Now listen while I play my green tambourine.
The 60s upheavals offended Jack. He especially had a very low regard for the anti-war protesters.
I thought that they were the most un-American kids in the world.
Listen at the play.
And what evil spell had turned previously well-behaved, well-dressed, middle-class white kids into loathsome, rebellious hippies? To Jack and the establishment, marijuana must have had something to do with it. From the time marijuana first showed up in police blotters and newspaper headlines in the early years of the century, its use had been limited primarily to Mexican immigrants and black jazz musicians. Marijuana was hardly noticed at all until it was discovered by the white middle class in the 60s, when millions of baby boomers actually inhaled. Coincidence or not, they began burning American flags, ROTC buildings, and draft cards. Even future leaders of the free world tried marijuana back then. Jack hated marijuana for its association with the counterculture, but he also had deep-rooted personal fears deriving from the reefer madness propaganda of his youth.
In the schools, they'd have this guy in a dark fedora hat, and he looked like Vincent Price, as shady as he could be, and he would be going, psst. You try one of these for free, kid, you know? And then all sorts of devil things. Next thing, you were shooting heroin, you know? You were doing cocaine. You were doing things and exotic name drugs that I had no experience with, and I was sure that this was going to happen to me.
The 60s rising tide of social change eventually swept in and altered the course of Jack's life. In 1967, he and his wife divorced. One day, a couple of years later, a new girlfriend asked him a question.
I asked him, hey, you smoke weed, man?
She said, Jack, have you ever smoked marijuana?
Yeah, you like to get high, man?
Of course not. No, I've never smoked marijuana. She said, well, I think you should.
She turned him out. She gave him some weed and started dancing like that in front of him. He said, God damn, girl, shit. Let me get this shit again.
I was feeling sensations that I didn't even know a human being could experience. And I said, why is this illegal? And she said, she doesn't know. I began to hear the protesters about the war in Vietnam, and their words had real meanings, textures. They weren't just talking about, I don't want to fight because I'm a coward, which is the way I thought of it in my ignorant or brutish way before.
Peace and freedom became big issues for Jack. So did the environment. But as the 70s began, the journey of Jack Herer from Goldwater Republican to Emperor of Hemp was only just beginning. Jack's transformation gained some momentum in 1973 when he satisfied a lifelong urge to write. He and a friend co-authored a little cartoon book about marijuana titled simply Grass. Much to his surprise, Grass became an underground hit, selling about 35,000 copies. Almost overnight, Jack gained a reputation as an authority on marijuana.
And now everybody thought I knew all about pot. I knew every little subtle thing. And I still didn't even know if I ran across a marijuana plant growing in a field, I wouldn't even recognize it.
And the grass, and the grass. Come sit with me in the grass.
Like millions of other Americans back then, Jack knew nothing of marijuana's history.
See, that's
He
where
had
y'all
no
getting y'all
idea that
CBD
marijuana
from.
was actually hemp, the non-intoxicating but still very much illegal variety of the ancient cannabis sativa plant. But as sales of his little grass book raised his profile, strangers began to come up to him with intriguing bits of information.
They come up to me and say, Mr. Herr, do you know that they used to make paper from marijuana? Some other kid would come up to me and says, do you know that they used to make all their sales and clothes out of marijuana?
The idea that it had other uses, that you could make paper out of it, that you could make cloth out of it, you could make cord out of it, you could make oil, you could make medicine. Those had never occurred to Jack, and boy, did he take that idea and run with it.
Jack was amazed to discover hemp's deep connection to mankind. For over 10,000 years, hemp was undeniably our most useful plant. Our ancestors depended on hemp's exceptionally strong fiber, cellulose-rich pulp, and highly nutritious seeds. The plant was cultivated and used throughout history for food, clothing, fuel, and medicine, as well as for sails, rope, shelter, and paper. In colonial America, hemp was not only legal, but essential to survival.
Washington planted hemp at Mount Vernon in the 1790s while he was president in an attempt to start a home industry so that the United States would not have to depend on Italy and on Russia and on England for their hemp fiber.
A home
This
industry.
was just after the Revolution, and the United States was trying madly not to have to rely on foreign countries for any products.
Armed with this new knowledge,
A home
Jack
industry.
set out to persuade the marijuana reform movement to join him aboard his new hemp bandwagon. But to his surprise, nobody got on, not even the usual suspects.
Many of us thought that Jack was perhaps too focused only on hemp. Most of us were only focused on let's stop arresting smokers, and we sort of thought the hemp issue was a secondary issue and maybe not as important, and we weren't even sure there was a constituency out there that cared about it.
The message, as well as the messenger, turned people off.
When he first talked about hemp, to me in particular, I was very resistant because I thought of it as being just an excuse to legalize marijuana.
He tended, in his enthusiasm, to overstate the case a bit, and in so doing, sometimes the rest of us were embarrassed by that. We felt like it might undermine all of our credibility.
He would go on and rant about, hemp and how it was important and how he found this and found that, and I paid little or no attention to him because he has a tendency to rant and rave about a lot of things, if you know him.
I suspect I'm probably one of those people that refused to return Jack's phone calls.
Going to a party. Meet me on after school. Well, going to a place where the job is really cool.
There was one person who did accept Jack's ideas back then. An easygoing marijuana activist named Ed Adair could see the sense to what Jack was saying. Adair, known to everyone as Captain Ed, owned two popular Los Angeles head shops.
I'd heard he'd sold 12 of the grass books. So I went over there and introduced myself, and he looked at me and he says, I've been selling the hell out of these books. But he says, are you sure you're okay you smoke pot? Because what I walked in with was a white plastic jacket with my polyester pants.
Jack followed Captain Ed's example and traded his polyester suits for jeans and t-shirts. The two became inseparable friends, and over the years, they collected hundreds of thousands of signatures for various legalization initiatives in California.
When Captain Ed and I made a pledge, it was to work every day to legalize cannabis until we were dead. It was legal or we turned 84. And we always felt the great injustice is that if anybody was in jail for cannabis for any reasons, it would always be too big of an injustice to walk away from and not spend almost all our time trying to change.
One night in 1974, Jack experienced what he describes as nothing short of a revelation. All his newfound knowledge of the hemp plant suddenly coalesced into a single, powerful vision. Hemp could actually save the world. In a flash moment, it came to him that virtually everything now made from trees and petroleum could instead be made from hemp. That not another single tree would ever have to be cut down to make paper. That clean-burning fuel would now be made from the biomass of the abundant hemp plant. This new fuel would run cars, factories, power plants, and would even provide heat for our homes. That hemp could be grown and processed into cloth and paper with only a fraction of the toxic chemicals used in processing cotton and trees. Jack pictured a world saved from pollution, acid rain, global warming, and deforestation. Well, just about everybody assumed that Jack had gone completely mad.
And my own kids thought, Dad, you've gone overboard. I mean, you're doing this marijuana legalization now for 3 years, and now you've gone overboard. Normal felt the same way. You tell people that marijuana is going to save the world. No self-respecting person will come to the marijuana movement. They'll think they're going to get involved with a nut like you.
All the world over so easy to see. People everywhere just wanna be free. Listen, please, listen, that's the way it should be. Peace in the valley, people got to be free.
Thick-skinned and unrelenting, Jack ignored the naysayers and stuck to his guns. Late in 1979, he and Captain Ed opened the nation's first hemp store, an outdoor stand famous to this day, where else but Venice Beach, California. Overnight, Jack became a boardwalk fixture, the hemp merchant of Venice, a man of hempen cloth preaching the gospel.
He's interested in saving the damned world and informing everyone he knows about hemp. He wears it on his body. He can't stop to buy a hot dog without starting to spread the news. He's been doing this continually. Now, when a guy like this is more like an Armenian rug merchant on the Lower East Side or something. You know what I mean? He's straight off the Bowery. He's a working class guy.
As the 80s began and the country braced itself for an official policy of zero tolerance toward marijuana,
Just
Jack
say
was
no.
about to have a close encounter with the 40th President of the United States. January 1981, West Los Angeles, California. Mere days before the presidential inauguration, Jack and a small encampment of followers are campaigning for California hemp and marijuana initiatives.
Along comes Ronald Reagan.
President-elect Reagan's motorcade pulls up to the federal building. He's scheduled for a pre-inaugural haircut. According to eyewitnesses, the great communicator questions the building manager.
By the way, he says, what are the Canadians protesting about out there? And he thought that the marijuana flag we were flying out there was the maple leaf. And And the guy that's the manager of the office of the building, he says, well, they're not Canadians. Those are marijuana protesters. And Reagan says, well, isn't there something you can do about that? Well, we've taken them to court and they've won. Well, I'll be on duty in 5 days. I'll see what I can do for you.
What Reagan does is have Jack and 5 others arrested for violating an arcane wartime sabotage act. The others pay a $5 fine and get probation. Jack fights. He refuses to pay the fine and loses. His appeal is unsuccessful. The United States Supreme Court refuses to hear the case. So on July 14th, 1983, Jack reports to federal prison at Terminal Island, California.
There were a lot of bank robbers in federal prison in 1983. And what are you in here for? I was registering voters after dark on federal property. They put you in jail.
Running for the border, spinning to the light, frozen night of wonder, and a holy terror inside. I smell the river.
Jack's incarceration would have been insignificant, except for the fact that he finally had the time and solitude to begin writing another book.
There was no radio, there was no television, no movies, no nothing to distract me. A couple guys would sing gospel songs a cappella, but that was about it.
I knew that Jack Herrera's book was going to become an underground classic. I knew it right away from the first time I saw the first edition.
People opened that book and said, you can make food out of hemp seed oil, you can burn it in a lamp, you can make rope, you can make parachute cordage and tie your shoes, and the Constitution was really printed on hemp paper. I mean, people love that.
In 1985, Jack published The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Since then, the book has gone on to become an underground phenomenon, selling more than 600,000 copies worldwide, and is now in its 11th edition. The first populist book of its kind, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, is part scientific document, part journalistic expose, and part holy crusade. It takes us on a journey of discovery that provides a caustic, sarcastic, and often irreverent look at the forgotten history and economic potential of the hemp plant. Written in simple and scholarly detail, its pages are filled with numerous articles, historical documents, photographs, and diagrams, along with the writings of poets, philosophers, and of course, the emperor himself. We learn of the thousands of commercial and therapeutic uses of hemp, and how hemp has been a significant part of our spiritual and cultural heritage throughout the ages. We discover how the hemp seed could again become a basic world food, and how no other single plant seed contains virtually all the nutritional elements necessary to maintain healthy human life. The Emperor Wears No Clothes explores in great detail Jack's most passionate beliefs, that biomass fuels derived from hemp can provide virtually all of the world's energy needs, eliminating the global dependence on our nearly depleted fossil fuels. That the systematic destruction of our environment can be dramatically reduced or even stopped by using hemp as the resource for fiber, fuel, and paper. The book makes the case for hemp as the world's savior, and Jack backs it up with a $50,000 offer to anyone who can prove him wrong. So far, he's had no takers. The book also takes us on a journey of the bizarre, the curious origin of marijuana prohibition. Only in the 20th century did the ancient hemp plant become a frightening new drug. The Mexican slang word, marijuana, was unknown to most Americans until it began appearing in newspaper headlines early in the century. Marijuana horror stories, works of pure fiction, were staples of the sensationalistic newspapers owned by William Randolph Hearst. But even respectable papers printed outrageous tales. Although this story would be relegated to the tabloids today, it was fit to print in the distinguished New York Times on July 6, 1927. A Mexican woman and her 4 children are driven insane by marijuana, the New York Times reported. It went on to say that neighbors rushed to the house to find the entire family insane.
It is convinced that he is hopelessly and incurably insane, a condition caused by the drug marijuana to which he was addicted. It is recommended, Your Honor, that the defendant be placed in an institution for the criminally insane for the rest of his natural life.
The next tragedy may be that of your daughter, or your son, or yours, or yours, or yours.
When driving down the road and the sheriff smells your load, you better make it to the woods if you can.
Although alcohol prohibition required a constitutional amendment, marijuana prohibition was brought about by a single federal law, the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. The driving force behind this law was Harry J. Anslinger, America's first drug czar.
You better make it to the woods if you can. And if you can.
Anslinger was the government's expert witness during 1937 congressional hearings on the proposed Marijuana Tax Act. As proof of marijuana's malevolence, Anslinger introduced into evidence the bogus Hearst newspaper headlines that trumpeted the violence, insanity, and death allegedly caused by marijuana.
Really, they was trying to get DuPont in position and all them to keep that cotton in there.
No data of any sort, much less
The money
scientific,
thing.
about whether this compound was harmful or not. There was just evidence it was being used by people whom we distrusted and feared, and that it was associated with lower class people.
You go back and read the record in Congress, it's amazing the lack of information. There were literally questions by members of Congress saying, what is this marijuana? Is it a narcotic or what is it? And there would be a sentence, someone would stand up and say, oh, it's the most dangerous new drug coming down the pipe.
In terms of what Congress knew in 1937, they didn't know any of that history. The only history that they were given was all these cock and bull stories about how it made people crazy and they went out and killed people under the influence of marijuana.
The Tax Act was built on lies, and I think it's outrageous that we have legislation that still exists today it was based on lies.
Despite opposition by the American Medical Association, Congress passed the law unanimously after debating for a grand total of 90 seconds. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed it into law on August 3, 1937. Theoretically, the new law did not actually prohibit marijuana and hemp. Only a constitutional amendment could do that. But by imposing prohibitive taxes and mountains of red tape, it made cultivation, processing, sales, and any use of the hemp plant whatsoever virtually impossible. Technically, farmers could still legally grow a hemp plant like this one, but only if they could somehow grow it without the leaves and flowers. This law is still in effect today. The full reasons behind marijuana prohibition are still being debated. Some experts think racism played a part.
So that when poor people, immigrants, take the drugs, we're afraid they're going to rise up, smite, steal, and take the white women. And so we outlaw the drugs because of our fears over that.
Others think Harry Anslinger was motivated by ambition and power.
A great deal of the reason that marijuana was prohibited was because of self-aggrandizement at the federal level, especially with Harry Anslinger wanting to be the J. Edgar Hoover of his own agency.
Jack sees darker motives. His book alleges a high-level conspiracy revolving around Anslinger, Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon, the DuPont Chemical Company, and hemp.
Mm-hmm.
Before the Civil War, hemp was the nation's second-largest cash crop behind cotton. But while cotton could be processed by machine, slaves were the only cost-effective way to separate the tough hemp fiber from the pulpy core that was used to make paper. When slavery ended after the war, the hemp industry went into decline. The death knell was sounded in the late 1800s when paper makers converted to tree-based pulp.
It meant that you could chop down a forest a lot cheaper than you could pay laborers to manufacture hemp fiber for paper.
Jack hangs his conspiracy angle on events that happened simultaneously with marijuana prohibition. Coincidence number one. A German immigrant invented a machine called the decorticator. This new mechanical processing device was about to bring hemp into the modern industrial age. Popular Mechanics magazine recognized the potential bonanza for American farmers and entrepreneurs.
$1 billion
This article
crop.
heralded a machine that could process hemp quickly and cheaply for the first time in history. Coincidence number two. The DuPont company in the 30s came out with both a sulfuric acid method for making paper from trees and a new invention called plastic. Jack's book points out that a hemp resurgence would certainly have been a serious threat to DuPont's petrochemical strategies. And finally, there's millionaire financier Andrew Mellon. Mellon was Anslinger's boss, Harry's wife's uncle, and DuPont's banker. Coincidences number 3, 4, and 5.
Don't smoke all of my grass.
The book's credibility got a boost from Jack's discovery of this 14-minute documentary. Supposedly made by the U.S. government 5 years after the Marijuana Tax Act.
That's what we just got done watching, ladies and gentlemen.
Farmers to grow outlawed hemp during World War II.
Long ago, when these ancient Grecian temples were new, hemp was already old in the service of mankind. For thousands of years, even then, this plant had been grown for cordage and coarse cloth in China and elsewhere in the East. But now, with Philippine and East Indian sources of hemp in the hands of the Japanese, and shipment of jute from India curtailed, American hemp must meet the needs of our Army and Navy, as well as of our industries. In 1942, patriotic farmers, at the government's request, planted 36,000 acres of seed hemp, an increase of several thousand %. The goal for 1943 is 50
Shit, had I known.
seed hemp. For to grow hemp legally,
This is a better
you must
better
have a
version.
federal registration and tax stamp. This is provided for in your contract. Ask your AAA committeeman or your county
For
agent.
$1.
Don't forget,
You can, now
Jack
they
often
want
staged
$2
public
million.
showings of hemp for victory to validate his history of the plant. He also used the film as an example of government deception and hypocrisy. But he was stunned one day in 1988 to get a call from a newspaper reporter questioning the authenticity of the film.
Well, Mr. Hare, we went out to check the information, and we found nobody that would corroborate your story, that this movie was even ever made. You said this movie was made by the United States government, this movie Hemp for Victory, that if there would be any evidence that the government ever made such a film, it would be in the Library of Congress, it would be in the Department of Agriculture. It is in neither place.
His reputation on the line, Jack and his friends went on an excursion to Washington, D.C.
We were just determined to find the documentation that made it a credible government movie made by the U.S. government and not made by Jack. We didn't see it as detective work. We just saw it as we were on a mission. We're on a mission from God.
Many others before Jack had searched the Library of Congress for proof of the documentary's existence and found none. In a day of digging, Jack ran into the same lack of evidence.
After deciding to give up, we decided to give it one more try.
In a dusty old book, hidden among clutter in a back room, they found it. The official Library of Congress documentation. Indeed, the film had been made by the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Hemp for victory.
Hemp for victory.
In the few short years since The Emperor Wears No Clothes first began inspiring activists and entrepreneurs, the U.S. hemp industry has grown from Jack's ramshackle Venice Beach booth into a $100 million a year business.
I was shopping for a suit the other day and walked into the department store. Stepped on the elevator and told the girl, dry goods flow. When I got off, a salesman come up to me. He said, now what can I do for you? I said, we're going there and show me all the sport clothes.
That's kind of hard, though.
He said, well, sure, come on in, buddy, and dig these fabrics we got laid out on the shelf. He said,
pick yourself out one, try it on, stand in the mirror and dig yourself.
I can dig it.
The world's getting this information. It's coming out on billboards. It's coming out on companies all over, everywhere.
As hemp gained mainstream acceptance in the 90s, so did Jack. His critics became allies.
When Steve Hager became editor of High Times in the late 80s, and he went ahead and just wrote column after column, article after article, month after month in his magazine. And that's really what exploded the idea of hemp, more to the colleges, more to everybody that picked up a High Times now read about hemp.
In 1994, he was honored by the conservative Drug Policy Foundation in Washington.
His efforts for showing the impact one individual can have on the lives of many others, Jack Herer is awarded the 1994 Robert C. Randall Award for achievement in the field of citizen action.
At the awards dinner, the emperor wore a hemp suit.
Hey, I wonder what happened to his homeboy, though. So it started with him, though. Shit, he just cut out.
But nothing vindicated Jack more than a 1992 Lifetime Achievement Award from his longtime adversary, Normal.
How do I calm myself at times like these? I need a simple kind of lovely, and the thought is just a novelty.
From a nemesis to a prophet, I think is the way to look at it. He was a bother and troublesome until he began to realize he had really discovered very important aspect of why it is that marijuana should be reconsidered and why the illegality of it is so preposterous and unfair.
I think that Jack's place in the history of anti-prohibition movement is going to be secured by the simple fact that he, despite everybody's criticisms, everybody thinking he was crazy, that he had the persistence and the temerity to simply keep going on and saying the truth over and over and over again, no matter, it sometimes seems like you have to say the truth many times before anybody hears it.
The Emperor Wears No Clothes is a book that's had an enormous impact in this country on awakening millions of Americans to the fact that the marijuana laws are wrong.
That's a trip. I can lie to you right quick and you'll believe it.
Racial in
if I tell you the truth, I gotta just keep telling you the truth over and over again.
I don't know anyone who's
Ain't
had
that a
as
trip?
much impact as Jack has.
that you'll believe a lie over the truth quicker.
Neither Jack nor anyone else in the outgunned, outspent reform movement was having any impact at all on U.S. drug policies. In the last years of the 20th century, incredibly, America was the only industrialized nation that still forbid hemp farming, forcing the U.S. hemp industry to import all its raw material. According to the government, allowing farmers to grow hemp would confuse police and send a wrong message to children.
Drugs are every nation's problem, and every nation must act to fight them. We are determined to build the drug-free America and to join with others to combat drugs around the world.
Yeah, right.
Let there be no doubt. This is ultimately a struggle for human freedom.
In the 90s, the federal government escalated the war on marijuana.
And they burnt all the good seeds up, y'all.
To arrest a record number of Americans.
They burnt, look out them.
Simple possession.
Oh my God. All the good seeds.
Since Prohibition began in 1937, upwards of 70 million Americans have tried marijuana at least once. A staggering
Look at them good
11
seeds.
million
Oh.
have been arrested. With 1 in every 40 prisoners a marijuana offender, the United States has become the world's biggest jailer. Some states now spend more on prisons than on higher education.
Even alcohol prohibition did not punish the users of alcohol. When marijuana prohibition was instituted, however, the prohibition was aimed directly at users, which it had not been with alcohol prohibition.
Well, just here in America, it's 14 million years have been spent on prison, jails, parole, or probation since the 1930s for marijuana. 14 million years. I can't even begin to calculate what that is at $25,000, $30,000 a year now. It gets me angry every day.
All available research has concluded that marijuana is dangerous to our health. Marijuana limits learning and memory perception and judgment and our ability to drive a car.
The war on marijuana is also a war on the sick and dying. Even after California and 5 other states overwhelmingly approved medical marijuana initiatives in the late 90s, the federal government still plays hardball.
Despite these initiatives, we want to make clear that federal law still applies, and federal officials will continue to apply the law, and DEA officials will review cases, as they have, to determine whether to revoke the registration of any physician who recommends or prescribes so-called Schedule I controlled substances.
This is not a medical initiative. This is a legalization of drugs issue.
The federal government, by classifying marijuana in Schedule I, is saying that it has no medical uses, which is a bald-faced lie because it has 10,000 years in every culture of medical use.
United States policy to the contrary, cannabis has long been esteemed as a safe, effective, and non-addicting medicine. For thousands of years, it was prescribed by the greatest physicians of their day. It was used for dozens of conditions, ranging from migraines, chronic pain, and asthma, to childbirth, muscle spasms, and even depression. Today, it also provides relief for victims of multiple sclerosis, glaucoma, the AIDS wasting syndrome, and nausea induced by chemotherapy.
It's impossible for a human to overdose and die, which is not true of alcohol, nicotine, barbiturates, or morphine. And it's a drug which humans can use under a wide variety of circumstances with safety.
Damn, you can.
Even so,
Overdose
US
off
House Republicans,
nicotine?
using language that would have made Harry Anslinger proud, passed a resolution in 1998 branding marijuana a dangerous, addictive drug with no medical use.
Zero.
They don't care if marijuana is the only drug that can alleviate your pain and suffering so that you can live longer, so that you can take your chemotherapy, so that you have a reasonable quality of life. They would rather fight the war on drugs even though they know that there are sick and dying patients being denied relief because of their position. Unconscionable.
What's up, brother?
Hey, so you would think that after
He said, hey,
at least
man,
a
hold on. We got
generation
a
really good
a guest
information
in
about
here.
marijuana being circulated, why is the war still going on?
One, I think the people in charge.
Or something going on.
What, you in the bathroom, man?
No, I'm backstage. I got the performers on stage right now. Can I turn the
Okay.
camera around or no?
Yeah, you can do what you want to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Jeff Nash live at the Pole Hop at the Guild Theater in Sacramento, California. I told you we're going to have some live things popping up in here. We got my other boy. Oh, shh.
That playboy from the hood that'll wax you up, surrounded in the swamps that E.T. finger and such what. Now it's stuck in handcuffs with letters. He's stressing over the cheddar. He with a Dear John letter. Dad, you know, was glad for my son.
Okay.
God, Pop needs to carry out a name. I pray to God he never like his daddy slaying and bang. I lead a life of pain. Let you drive you insane. Okay. And remember, when you ain't got no change, hell. Wear a phony homies in a time of need, they'll leave your ass alone. And your beloved ones of paper, the riggers and trenches, like the whole game is safe. Put her in a skirt and have her still there. What is it all?
I think we got a bad signal over there at the Pole Hop. Yeah, we got a bad signal going on at the Pole Hop, but we got another guest jumping in right now. And it look like his signal.
Yeah, so the show's going right now. We locked in. Back here, lightweight sweat, not as bad. I got it together a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to go ahead and, it's cooler. They finally got the AC working. And
so you got was that the headliner right there?
No, that's brother Malik Sanders.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, dope. So we about to get to the feature, and the headliner is 2 people away.
Okay. Hey, when you come back, try to come in down there in the front row, man. Let's take a look at him, man. Instead of looking at him from the side view.
Yeah, I'll try to get to the side. Let me try to work around the front. Let me call this guy up, and then I'll tap back in a few minutes. Give me like 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Try to get Brother Celeste in here. We've been having a lot of internet problems, man. What's going on with the internet in the world, man? Brother. Oh, he done cut out on me. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Good cannabis going on. Hope you guys was digging that Jack Herrera and everything he had to say and what was going on. I think we're gonna continue that.
It harkens back to the Vietnam War era Vietnam War protests, the civil rights protests, people who were trying to change the government.
But notwithstanding that people talk about how the police are not particularly interested in marijuana cases, in fact, it is their bread and butter.
The war on drugs is supported in part now because we have a drug abuse establishment. Every place I turn and talk to somebody about what he or she does, he's in drug abuse.
Brother, you in?
Yeah, it's a lot better with the computer. How y'all doing?
Oh yeah, hold on one second, man. Let me go ahead and get a pause right quick on Jack, man. We was watching. You familiar who Jack Herrera is?
I sometimes think there's nobody left.
Yeah, I'm familiar with his herb. You know, I'm familiar with his herb, and I'm a big fan of his herb like everybody else.
That ain't his herb. That's him right there.
I thought Jack Herrera was the guy who created that strand of the herb called Jack Herrera. That's what I thought.
No.
Change the
So
Constitution so that it's meaningless.
we're gonna pause
You
Jack
can
right quick.
search
Hold on.
people's
We're gonna
homes
pause
without
Jack.
valid-
We're gonna pause Jack. Jack was actually the guy. Let me throw this over here. Matter of fact, we're gonna go like that. Jack was the guy that came along and said, "Hey, did you know?" And well, actually, other kids came along and told him, you know what I mean, during the hippie time, and was like, "Hey, bro, did you know that they used to make like this out of hemp and this out of hemp, this out of hemp?" So he was like the number one activist pushing to get it legal, cannabis legal.
Oh, what word? That's what's up.
Yeah, he's the emperor. They call him the emperor. You know what I mean, of cannabis.
Oh, cool, man.
So whoever created that strand in his honor.
I see.
Yeah. So Jack, I met Jack in '93. That's what I was telling him. Like I didn't even smoke weed. I thought, just say no to drugs. That hit me because I mean, the Bay. I went to school. I went to school in elementary school in Fremont.
Oh,
So,
I see.
Patterson Elementary. So Patterson, and then there was another school called Alderwood or something like that. You know what I mean? But anyway, Alderwood was the first graduating class, and Patterson, our little class, was the second graduating class of that Just Say No to Drugs. We were the first, like, where, you know what I mean? And they implemented that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We was the first little crash test dummies and stuff. We was walking around with the little shirts on and stuff like that. So, and then shit, I seen what crack was doing to my family in the streets. So I was like, shit, I'm cool. I'm just gonna drink this alcohol. But then when I went and seen Jack Herrera and he broke this shit down, I was just smoking a little bit. This white girl took me. She's like, "Hey, I was just like you. You want to go? Who is that? Oh, he's a weed activist, and he just." I wasn't interested. I was interested in her. You feel me? I was more interested, and I had a car. So she was like, "Yeah, I got 2 tickets, and I had nobody to go with." So I went down there, and he played this thing. It's called the what? I think I've been playing this shit all damn night. Hemp for Victory. It was a thing that the government put out.
Okay.
In 1942, encouraging people to grow hemp and turn it in. You get to go get $1. You get your producer of marijuana or hemp license. You produce hemp and go turn it in because it was producing shit for the war, World War II and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
I could dig it, brother.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, man, good to see you, boy. Good to see
What's
you,
up,
man.
Yeah, man. Tell the people who you is, man.
Oh, man, I'm just Brother Selassie, man. Brother Selassie, conscious, political, progressive MC out of San Francisco, entrepreneur. Been doing my thing for, almost 20 years, independent, and just happy to still be here representing, man. Hope everything's cool with you, my brother.
It's all love, and hopefully I'll see you in a couple weeks, about a month or so. I heard they called you back at the Emerald Cup. Congratulations on that. It's gonna be your second year MCing out there. And
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be at the Emerald Cup this year.
can I just say one thing?
What?
Keep your shirt on this year. Keep your shirt on this year, bro.
Hey, I was out there. It was at first off, it was hot. Number
I
one,
know. I
and
know.
number two, I've been working out a little bit, so I was kind of buff a little bit. So,
Yeah, you was out
hey,
there.
I ain't trying to go there, but the ladies was like, they was like, "Oh, I like your shirts, Officer Lassie." No, I was just,
Yeah.
nah.
No, so this is your second year though. They reached back out to you.
Yeah. To host one of the stages. Shout out to the Emerald Cup and Tim Blake and the whole camp out there holding it down. For years they've been doing it, representing the Golden Triangle, and just hold it down, with really cool events, and how they do the Emerald Cup, how they judge the herb, the judging contest and all that. So, yeah,
I'm a little biased. I'm a little biased on that, on the judging part. And
Yeah,
since
most people are that I meet, you know what I mean, because
I was in it.
Right, because they are the standard for the judging. So it's like, they are the top of the judging. You can't deny that. Not you can't deny that, but I'm just speaking in general. Anybody that knows that the Emerald Cup is the cream de la crop of judging the herb.
Well, can I, since it's me and you talking, you know what I mean? Can I tell you one thing?
Oh, for sure.
It was one year I was out there and I had my CBD. Now, you tried my CBD?
I have not personally, no.
Okay,
Or if I did, I can't remember. Shit, I can't
well,
remember what
then you would have remembered this, because you would have probably said, "Yeah, man, I need some more of that," because that, you know what I mean. So you ain't never had it, but I ended up growing some of the finest CBD. Like, you know what I'm saying. I took it to BAS Research, was like the first licensed facility in California that had their license to do extractions.
Cool.
It's right there in Berkeley. So yeah, Montel Williams, a whole bunch of people went to them first. And when I went, so at the Emerald Cup, that's where I met this lady from Arizona who turned me on to him, because the whole talk of Emerald Cup that week was my CBD oil and the flower. Nobody had seen those numbers tested like that, right? So, I mean, brothers, people were walking around to me, just walking up, "Hey man, congratulations, I heard you won." I'm like, bro, you know how juice I felt, like, you know what I mean, just for them couple of moments, like all them growers out there. And I actually put something that I grew up in my hills and came down here. And that was all me, like, you know what I mean, to really grow. I didn't have no Brad, no Chad, no Darren, nobody next to me helping me grow. All me, watering up, down. I had indoor, outdoor, the whole nine. You know what I mean? So to get those, right. So I'm like, damn. So now here comes Sunday for the judging. So I'm sitting back. Wow, CBD oil. I just know I got it. They don't call my name. Damn, the fuck. Well, the flower, I know my flower, my terpenes was like, on CBD was like, I believe like 2.97. I'm like, I mean, I know there's some good terpenes out there, but ain't nobody really got this like this right now on the CBD. You know what I mean? Because like 3% is like phenomenal. You know what I mean? They had like some 4s. You know what I mean? I got like, if you know your terpene percentage, but like 3% on some CBD, and that's pretty good. So I'm sitting back, they don't call my name. So I'm like, oh man, this shit rigged. So
yeah, man.
They release this shit and they only recognize the top 3. I placed in the top 10 for my flower. They lost my oil. When I looked at the results of the top 3, numbers don't lie. My numbers were like double of what the other cats that won, man. So I am a little biased when it comes to their judging. But I'm not biased to the gathering of people that come out there that probably not even judging, just out there, just the energy and the spirit. You know what I mean? So that's just a little personal. You know what I mean? That's like that's not like, oh, it did it to my homeboy or I heard. No, that shit happened to me. You know what I'm saying? And then
You know, it'd be like that with anything, man. You know, like even with my contest, like sometimes people don't like the result. You know what I mean? And it's just, and then you can do about that. Like once
I don't like I don't like the results when the top 3 people are the people that have the biggest booths. You know what I mean? Is
Yeah.
that coincidence?
I
You know
don't
what
know.
I'm
I have
saying?
nothing to do with that. I have no horse in the race. I'm out of that. But I'm just saying, as far as like any type of contest or anything like that, you know, it's gonna be somebody to lose, somebody to win. It is what it is. But what's cracking, man?
Man, I'm still talking about the business, brother. He said, I
Yeah,
don't want
man.
to talk about the business. Huh?
I don't talk about that. That's something different. I don't know nothing about that. I'm just going to go host, and we're gonna be there this year, and it's gonna be cool. And shouts out to E40. He's gonna be headlining it. It's a lot of other people coming through there, and it's gonna be a good show, you know, this year. And it was cool even last year. Shouts out to Capadonna, Corrupt, Keek the Sneak came through. It was real big last year too. So this year should be cool too.
I don't get no shout out. I was in the building.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. I remember you was in the building too.
You crazy. Yeah, man. So now I'm diving back into it. You know what I mean? I done hooked up with a local here. Her name is Zion, an Ethiopian lady who has a restaurant out here, been branded into the community and stuff like that. So, by word of mouth, she got passed on to me. We linked up. She needed a little bit of my finesse and my little experience, and I joined up with her, man. So we just bringing awareness, but you know me, man. I keep it 100. You know where I've been. You know where I come from. You know what I mean. So I just keep 100 with everybody. So you know what I mean. It's lovely. I'll probably be back out there. You going to MJ Biz? You're not into it like that, huh?
Which one is it?
It's the conference down in Vegas in 2 weeks.
No, probably not. No.
See, I'm
You
not
know,
on.
yeah. I'm just laying low out here in LA right now. Just taking it one day at a time out here in LA. You know, kind of just staying away from everything that has to do with the industry of all kinds. You know, but just kind of just staying away from all that, man. That's always fared me well to steer clear of egos, shenanigans and things like that. It's always fared me well. I mean, to come this far, to still be in the game. I've seen many rappers start with me and now they have full-time jobs. And I'm not like knocking that. I'm just saying that it takes a while. It takes a certain type of perseverance to keep it going and not stop. And I've seen like venues go out of business. I've seen companies that were cracking 10, 15 years ago gone.
But
So
you know
it's like
what though?
when you survive the haters and when you survive, all of the pitfalls of the game, that's good when you get to the end.
You know how I always looked at it
Mm-hmm.
is in high school, how many men are on the varsity basketball team in the United States?
Mm-hmm.
And then you break it down to how many men are playing Division One college basketball. And then from Division One, how many actually go pro? See
Yeah, that's
now,
true.
see now I tell that because now it's like you can go straight out of high school into the NBA. You can do this, you can do that. Like you don't have to go through those steps to get there. So there's a lot of like, oh, he's better than Michael Jordan, or he's this, or he's that, or you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So or he's this and he's that, or he could dunk on this person, he can dunk on that person. Like, nah, he can't, man. And my point is some of those rappers wasn't meant to be rappers. They were meant to be rappers in high school, maybe in college, but not
Mm-hmm.
professional. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Would,
I feel the
would
same
you
way. I mean,
would you agree it's too many of them out there?
Well, I look at it like this.
With the access of home computers?
Yeah, I look at it like this. There's two type of industries. There's two type of industries. There's mainstream and there's underground. And I always wanted to be with the underground. I never wanted to join the mainstream. So it just depends on what side you own. So a lot of people like fame, they like glamour, they like glitz, they like money, they like all of that kind of stuff. And they see that they can get that from going the mainstream route. They don't think that they can get there by paying dues and going the old school route. So I'm from the old school. So the
Mhm.
old school route was that you took the long way. You didn't sell your people out. You didn't sell your culture out. You didn't sell rap music out by taking the easy way out, by taking a deal, taking the quick way out. So kind of to answer your question, I'm getting there. Nowadays, there is no artists that have paid dues, have taken the time to build out their career. A lot of them are instant successes, one hit wonders, people that are more dangerous to the industry than positive because back in the day, you can have 100 dudes go to the record company and all 100 would say, nah, we're not going to sell out our culture to get a record deal. The executive could say, we want all y'all to rap and put on clown suits and put makeup on and put on bozo noses. And everybody, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'd be like, man, we ain't doing that, man. Are you crazy? Now you would probably get 15 people to say, I'll do it. So you can have 100 people that's like, go to the executive office and they all say, yo, no matter what he offers us, we're not going to sell out. And we all gonna do this together. And yeah, and everybody say, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. As soon as they get in that door, 15 of them will say, I'll wear the monkey suit. I'll wear the
Mhm.
bozo suit. I'll be the one that will give the negative images to reflect a bad image on our culture. And then the other 85 they throw out. So nowadays you got a lot of brothers that will sell out the culture and the black culture for money, and they do it so easy that it's just you can't even blink your eyes, and the next thing you look up, somebody is making black people look bad, whether it is through music, entertainment. Somebody says something crazy, and then again, we don't represent ourselves. We don't have any representation. So everything that we do is based on this mainstream idea and not even underground. So everybody wants to be on television. Everybody wants to be on a record label and not even understanding how any of that works. So it's unfortunate that my people, black people, are so
You know,
focused on the
you know
glam
what
and
it
the
sound like? You know what it sounds like to me right there, what you just described?
what?
The cannabis business right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Well,
everybody's
look at it. Look at it like this. Burner, my boy. I fuck with Burner. Like I don't. We're not like friends as far as like personal friends. Um, I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but we're both from San Francisco, and I go back with Burner. I used to grab weed from Burner and on the club on 12th and Gary before he blew up. I would come in there, and I know his real name. I won't say his real name. What I used to call him when I would see him in the cannabis club when he used to work, and he'd see me and be like, "Hey, what's up, Selassie?" We Frisconians, so he's my boy. But I just seen he was on a list for like the top 5 richest rappers, right? And I'm happy for that, and I'm saying that's dope and that's big that he made $410 million as a rapper representing the Bay Area. It was like Dr. Dre, Big Diddy, a whole bunch of people. So for him
Mhm.
to be on the list of people who made millions of dollars from rap or whatever is pretty big. But they said he made $410 million, from cookies and all that kind of stuff, which is dope. But then I sat back and I thought they never let a nigga in a million years make $410 million off marijuana. So exactly what you're saying, and then like so it's like Burner rap and shit like that, and we fuck with Burner, but we don't really know any of his music, so it's not like he could be really classified as like, um, making a lot of money for music. I'm sure he does, but everybody knows that he's made a bulk of his money through the marijuana business. But they wouldn't. There's no brothers. And I'm speculating. Somebody could send me a message and be like, "You totally misinformed. Black people make millions of dollars on the marijuana industry." But as like everything else, we don't control a goddamn thing. We don't control anything. So anything in the marijuana business, we generally are buyers, and there's a very small
Well,
percentage of people that are suppliers.
well, there's I know a few cats that's making some money in the
Mhm.
marijuana business. You know, even right there in LA.
Mhm.
But he's been, it's been a rough road. You know what I'm saying? And he
Mhm.
stayed true. Now he done lost some partners, he done gained some partners, and you know what I mean, the whole nine.
Right.
So you can make some money in the game. It's just that you got to have money to make money right now. And I tell them it's like, so me and a lot of people will argue, right? So they'll be like, "Oh, they shutting the black people out of it."
Mhm.
Well, I don't see it that way, right? Because
Right.
it's preparation. So, like, we don't come together and buy land. I was just up on 13 acres and I tried to get up, man. I had the landlord lady like in the palms of my hand. The fucking roof was collapsing, that, but it wasn't, I could have caught it. You know what I mean? The house needed another roof, and that was nothing because it was about the land, not the house. I didn't care about the house. You can build another house. So I'm in a position to where I can, you know what I mean, like squeeze this property out of this. I called my mother, I called my father, I called everybody that I knew that probably had houses and said, "Hey, let's all come together as a family and buy this property up here. I like living up here. We can put some cows, we can whatever you want to put up on here, chickens, whatever." You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's ready for that. Then nobody want to come together. So that's what I'm saying. We wasn't prepared. And then look, COVID hit. Now we got to go and everybody this and that. We would have had a nice place to go to. We'd have had nice 13 acres with a well, running water, the whole nine, living off the land. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just so
We,
like you said, it's deep. It gets deeper
so
because we don't own nothing. We don't have that
so
mind
that's my
capacity.
point. We don't own any of the warehouses over here. You know, it's not the fault that the Asians own it. You know, it's a couple brothers that lease, but they don't own. You know
It's
what I
not.
mean?
It's not anybody's fault. It's just more of I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying you're saying it. I'm just saying that that we are so far back by even getting any respect in any of these industries in any way. You know what I mean? Like we with our dollar is really not respected. It's just taken. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like as an African American, yeah, in America, like our dollar is not respected. It's just taken. So it's the same thing with the marijuana business. It's like the cannabis business. I know that there's people of color and players in the game, no doubt, but I remember like even just it coming up, it was like hard for brothers to get in. I remember like even before 2017 when it became legal,
And
it
then
was hard for brothers to get into the game.
I tell you what Berner did too, man, is he was smart on the licensing. He licensed that
Yes.
cookie and branded that cookies.
Right,
So that's like,
from something in the streets of the Bay,
yeah,
because we
yeah,
was
yeah,
all there living it. You know, like you said,
yeah.
he seen something that was popular in the streets,
Boom,
and then he branded it and did his thing.
branded it cookies
No,
and ran with it. And that's what it is. It
it's
don't
not.
matter.
It's not that they won't let a brother do that. It's not that. It's just that there's it's that yeah, like it's
Sometimes you get luck up, man. Sometimes you luck up.
yeah, yeah. It's
You
not
know what I
like they
mean?
won't let a brother do that, but
No.
like
Sometimes
it'd be
some
kind of I just can't see in America that they'll have a brother that made $410 million on a pot industry and with marijuana base. They would try to get him in the feds. They try to
But
wrap him
see,
up on a case, all kind of shit.
yeah, but see, I don't think it's not the bud. It's the brand. It's how much each brand is pulling in. So
Right, you
you
know
got
why I even brought up that article is because it was an article that it was like the top 5 rappers, right? And that was the thing, like first
yeah. But see, yeah, he ain't
he's a
making no
rapper,
money
but
off
he's
a
also
rapper.
a huge businessman. He's a rapper, but he's a businessman too. You know what I mean?
So they putting two entities together.
Exactly. That was really why I brought it up because it was more of like that they said who was the top 5 rappers that are like a billionaire or like a millionaire, made millions with it, and he was there. And a shout out to Burner.
Well,
I
who
saw
else? Who else was on that list?
it was like Dre.
Okay,
It was
with
like
Dre ain't
Dre.
did Dre
But I'm talking about like
Dre
with straight money though. So it was like the top 5 rappers
with
that like really are
Dre
like
made
the
all his
richest.
money off. Look, Dre made his money off of beats. So
Right, exactly. So it was other
a
entities, not
different
just rap.
brand, yeah.
But
So
what I'm saying is just going back to kind of spinning it back, like what we were saying earlier. Like so the mainstream industry is jacked up. The mainstream is insane. As you see what they're doing to these young brothers, killing them, taking their publishing, because my motto is that you're more valuable to them dead than alive in the mainstream industry. They'd rather have you dead because they don't even have to deal with you. They can take all your money and put all your stuff. And so that's that. That mainstream industry is a whole nother monster. God bless that we even have the independent market where we could be independent and we could do our own thing and have our fans and all that. Because if you're trying to get into that mainstream, you getting into a whole nother world.
mm-hmm.
But then a lot of rappers want the mainstream because they want the fame. They want to be on television. They want the radio, and they'll do anything for that. And that is a detriment to the culture. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
It's a
well,
detriment to the culture especially if you use it negative. And today's media,
they need to
they
smoke
only
more weed.
promote anything. They promote things negative. They don't promote anything positive.
When have they? They just need to smoke some more weed, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Get off the other narcotics, smoke you some herb, and that's it, and that's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that the herb is good. Herb definitely helps me. It definitely helps me. It helps everybody. I think it's a healing thing. I think it's something that can bring more people together. I I hope that it don't. I don't hope it doesn't get. I hope it doesn't get politicized. And has things messed up. But yeah,
They need to just go ahead and let that hemp flow through. Let them get their money and regulate cannabis in such matters that they do uh, alcohol. Because see, and like they say in the prohibition, cannabis is when they punish the users. They don't punish the users for drinking alcohol. Only when you do it and you put other people at risk. Driving drunk, have a designated driver, take a taxi. You know what I mean? The whole nine. But you can sit there and get drunk and shit at your house. Don't be drunk in public. You can be drunk at your house. Go on in the house somewhere. You know what I mean? That's what you paid for. You got your own club. They do that to cannabis, we'll be all right.
yeah, I think that
Just
I
like you
think it's
don't just like you don't really walk down the street. How many people you really see walking down the street drinking alcohol? You don't see people just driving down, walking down the street drinking alcohol. So you're not just gonna be walking down the street, what I mean, just smoking. If you
Yeah,
make it a
it's a very interesting subject, the marijuana, or the cannabis, and I all I can say really is that not all I can say, but just to your subject, I do love the advancements that it's taking on, how it's come from 1996 to here. It's been really, really something to see the advancements of that. And
what about now? Let me ask you this.
I look forward to keep seeing it grow.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. When did you start smoking? What year?
I say about 1996, 1997.
96, 97. So they still
Yeah,
had some.
I was about 19 because I always grew up with weed,
Yeah.
but I didn't smoke any.
Now, would you
You know,
say the weed back then was a little bit stronger and better than it is now?
no. I say the weed back then was like it was like dirt weed, and
Oh,
like you
you
were
was
lucky
getting.
to get green weed. I remember us
Oh,
getting green
you.
weed.
Oh, I was the lucky one then because I've been getting green weed since like '93. So
Well, we would get this is what we would do when I was in England. We would get dirt weed, but
Bammer.
My boy Tyrese, his dad was like a big baller in Oakland. So when we was in SAC and we would drive down to Oakland a few times a week, or maybe like a week every weekend, we go meet Reese's dad, and Reese's dad would give us like that light green from Oakland on 80th and East 14th, and we would go get that light green. And back in the day, it was them big old tin sacks in the
yeah,
package, them huge tin sacks that
yeah,
were straight light green. And to keep it
yeah,
real,
fluffy. Shit
and to
was
keep it
sticky
real,
as shit.
yeah, and to keep it real, I still have not had that kind of weed all this
Thank you,
time.
thank you.
I still have not had that weed I used to get back in East Oakland that they used to call light green. I
Yeah,
still
that
ain't seen.
light. That's that light. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, a lot of that shit back then. You know why? Because
Yeah,
I'm a grower, right? So I have my own theories, and then at this conference that we had for the California Growers Association, there's an old white dude outside, right? He like Santa Claus. We were sitting up there. I was smoking my black and mild. He was smoking his cigarette. Then
uh-huh.
I don't know how we started talking, but we just started talking. And I asked him. I said, "Man, I to me it seems like the weed was much stronger back in the mid '90s, you know what I mean, early '90s, mid '90s than it is now. Am I?" And he told me, he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "Because back then we had pure genetics and we were growing from seeds. There was no clones. So
Hmm.
as over the years, people have taken clones and clones and clones and weakened down the genetics. Even though if you breed that seed to like a fourth generation cut of a clone, you still getting you know what I mean, a
That
fourth
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So the lot, so like it wasn't this hardball, man. We had that like being me. I had for Frisco. I had Black Sea on last week, and we was talking about Bammer,
Oh, cool.
and we was
Shout out
talking
to
about
Black Sea, man.
yeah, we was talking about the weed. Not like look, I'm gonna do it just like I did last week. I picked the weed up. The weed we used to have, you go like this and let it go, and the shit still be stuck to your fingers, still be stuck to your hands.
I
This shit
remember that.
drop, fall, break, you know what I mean? Oh, brittle. Like, so I wish I could find some land races like that to bring it back. Oh my God. You talking about being a millionaire. If we had some of that in the jar right now, millions.
Yeah, man.
Hey, you heard me? I said, if we had that in the jar right now, what you had back there, that light, millions.
Even like Nade too, because I'm from the city, and back in the day we had Nade. So Nade was like it's like some Canadian weed or something. I don't know where that shit was from, but no matter what,
So,
nobody tell you, Nade originated in Potrero Hill.
Nah. So we got Huey in there. He said, pretty sure your tolerance was just lower back then. Nah, Huey. So let me tell you something about the herb back then. You know what I mean? Like he said, it was all from seeds that we was getting. A lot of that stuff was outdoor, strong, and then people knew how to grow their stuff, that we was getting from Humboldt and stuff like that, because nobody was really growing indoor back then. They hadn't forced everybody indoors yet. You know what I mean? Um,
Would you
so
make me another one of those?
so to answer your question, Huey, the song "I Got Five" on it came on, right? So that's what he's saying. I got five, he got five. But let me tell you this: in some parts, if it was four people all put $5 in on one blunt, and all four people will be high for about 4-5 hours, bro. Like the high would last so much longer. You know what I mean? When you agree, Celeste?
Yeah, I remember back in the day. I mean, and then too, you got a trip. We was younger, and our tolerance wasn't the highest. You know what I mean? I remember
Shit.
we wouldn't even
Speak
smoke.
for, hey, speak for yourself, boy. Like I say, man, we was big blowing over here. We
I
was big
wasn't. I
blowing,
mean, not like that. I'm gonna keep it real. Early when we was starting, like when I was really starting, I
big
remember we
blowing.
would just like have a blunt, and we could
Boy,
just like
look,
pass around a blunt.
hey,
And
look.
then
Let me tell you,
we went from like an eighth. I remember eighth was like huge. To get like a quarter or something was like out of this world. So I just like
yeah,
the early '90s when we was coming up smoking and stuff. But I remember like
yeah.
getting an eighth was like a big deal, and I remember like eighths. It seemed like 3.5 was different than it is today, but
Yeah, that 3.5 lasted you.
yeah, it seemed like it was different back in the day than what it was today. It was like it held up the whole bag. Like now it's like a
Yeah.
little thing, but maybe they have recalibrated the scales or something like that. But yeah, it was way different. I remember you would get an eighth. It just looked different, So yeah, so I remember my smoking came more heavy when the more trauma. Because my theory is this: that's why people smoke. That's why we smoke. That's why people do drugs. That's why they abuse drugs because of the pain that they have. So I started smoking weed because I remember I broke up with my girlfriend Bianca, and I never had broke up with nobody like that. I was 19, and she was moving to like a boarding
Did she
school.
break up with you, or did you break up with her?
She like
Or
broke
was
up
it,
with me, but only reason why is because she was moving to like a boarding school. She was like moving to a boarding school in New Jersey. Was like I
I
mean
gotta
I
hear
remember
this.
being like 17, and like that was like or like no, I was 19 and she was 17, 18, something like that. But she was like a year and a half younger than me. But she went to Kennedy and I dropped out or whatever. But she was my girlfriend. But so she was ready to move on with her life. She was like really rich, and her parents were well off, and they wanted to send her
And
to
she
a
left
boarding
you home,
school.
and you
They,
just smoke weed to cope
yeah,
with
they
your
wanted to
girl
send her to a
leaving.
boarding school. I was really heartbroken, and sometimes I think I'm still strong enough that I would have never did any hard drugs. But I remember my boys came to pick me up, and they was like, "You want to smoke?" And I was like, "Fuck it, I'll smoke." But I had grew up with weed like my whole life, so it wasn't like I wasn't like mystified with weed. It's like all my cousins had it, all my mom smoked weed. I got her jar, I got her weed jar to this day that she had when I was a kid. So she always smoked weed, and it was always around her and my cousin Dira, my aunt Sherry. Every time they hung, they smoked weed. So that wasn't new to me. So, but 19, I was decided, fuck it, I'll have a puff because I was upset. So, and then from there, smoking weed became a coping mechanism to deal with trauma, to deal with pain. And I think everybody deals with that. That's why weed is so popular because, yeah, you like the herb and shit like that, but everybody is dealing with pain and trauma and it numbs the pain. That's why people really smoke. If you really trip, I mean, it's why do you do anything? I'm a kind of person like that's why I don't drug abuse at all, or I've never done any drugs because, in my mind, if I would do anything, it's because I want to do it. So I'll do anything if I want to do it. But if I don't want to do it, I won't do it. So like with weed, it's like the reason why I smoke it. I know why I smoke it. I don't just smoke it because it's like a fad. I smoke it because it helps with my trauma, and I think it does that for a lot of people.
So what's your strain of choice to go to that helps you the most? You an indica man, hybrid, or sativa?
Yeah, I like indica. I'm not too big on the hybrids. I don't be knocking them, but I either go either sativa or indica, and I do like
Hmm.
a lot of indicas. Um, my I guess my favorite strain on the planet in the world is Northern Lights,
Northern
and you
Lights.
can't find Northern Lights anywhere. But I had a guy that had it in Orange County, and it was the best weed on the planet. But And
You know what?
then
You know what the chronic
yeah,
the
the
chronic.
chronic. Yeah.
You know what that's really mixed. That's Northern Lights and Skunk Number One.
Mm.
That's what the chronic is.
Northern Lights, man. I had this guy. He had this Northern
Yeah,
Lights.
GDP is cool. Huey.
Oh yeah, yeah, I like GDP. Yeah, yeah. Granddaddy Purple, the real. I'm kind of like smoking on some of that right now. I got a good. It's like real Granddaddy.
Mm-hmm. You know,
But
I'm
yeah,
old.
that's why niggas smoke weed. That's why every nigga you see smoking weed because he's traumatized.
Well, you know, I done broke my shit down to a science. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like everybody ain't been fortunate to go behind different doors that I was fortunate to go behind. But
Right.
at an early age of me starting to learn to grow and whatnot, I learned about terpenes. And the terpenes is what really determines what your high is going to be. It has nothing to do with the THC or even the CBD. You know, the terpenes are the essential oils that's in the plant. That's what
Right.
gives it its aroma. That's what gives it taste, and that's what gives it effect. So the
Ain't nothing
higher,
like weed.
huh?
Ain't nothing like weed. That's why people
Yeah.
smoke it so much.
So if you do your homework like really on terpenes and you break the weed down on the terpene aspect of what you're really getting, you can go in and know what you're getting before you get it. And if that grower, you know, took his time and did what he gonna do, you're gonna get the effect. That's one thing that I seen that every plant that I grew, I didn't care what it looked like. I did nothing. As long as when it broke down and went in a zigzag or my blunt or whatever or my pipe, the effect that it was supposed to give me, it gave me. You know what I'm saying? So and that was credited to them terpenes, breaking down them terpene profiles.
Yeah.
So if you really want to get scientific on it and really find you can guess and be like, oh, let me try this or let me try this, or you can really go in there and look at the terpene profiles and actually go in there and pick out that strain of choice and know it's going, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that one barbecue sauce. Well, I know I like tangy. I know I like this. I like that. They got all that in there. Yep, give me that. And you already gonna know that's gonna be the one for you.
Yeah. When I deal with my trauma fully, I'll probably stop smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, because that's why I smoke it. I mean, other than that, but I think it's good because sometimes I think about what would people do if they didn't have weed and to deal with their pain. It would be something else. I can't imagine what that is. But that's a good title of a song. What else would it be or something like that? Like where weed is gone, but you gotta rely on something else. What would it be? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man. I mean, I'm just chilling, just thugging it out, just living and dying, living and dying in LA. I'm just chilling one day at a time, chilling. And yeah,
Yeah.
my man said there would be more violence and more drunk. Oh yeah, for sure. If there wasn't weed, oh my God.
Gosh, I
But
don't
I
know.
figured it
You
out.
know, I kind of thought about that earlier. If it wasn't no weed,
If it wasn't no weed, what would people or what would brothers? I was just speaking specifically for brothers because when I think
I I I think real talk. I started off a heavy drinker, and then
Mhm.
I don't even drink no more. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like I can go out
I
to
was
a
never
bar
really
and go
big
out,
on drinking.
and not even drink.
I'm a social drinker, but not like
I don't even think I can go back to drinking.
when I'm
Like
by
if I didn't have
myself.
any
I don't
weed,
even drink. I like that's probably keeping me alive because I don't drink.
and then
But
they
when at
taking
least
all
when
the
I'm by myself.
tobacco away, so couldn't go no tobacco. I started off on beaties.
Yeah, I remember them nasty ass beaties. For
Maybe
sure.
I'll go back to beaties
Well,
if it
no, I
wasn't no
mean,
weed.
I started smoking hella shit late. That's probably why.
Hey, what the fuck was in beaties?
Who the fuck knows?
We used to
I
call
don't
them
know.
like We used to call that shit like Indian weed or some
Well, it
shit.
was like an Indian thing. Yeah, I still remember the
Maybe.
beat. It
Hey,
was
do
some
you think
nasty.
Hey, some of them, that strawberry one was bomb. I don't know what you talking about.
I still
Those
know
straw-
what this. I still can imagine that
it was-
smoke. I still can like feel it going in my lungs.
It
That
might have
nasty.
been. It might have been like that hookah shit that the motherfuckers
It
is
might have been
smoking
that.
now
It might have been that back
in a
then.
different form,
It might.
huh?
I think it might have been like incense, man. That beady will make me
It
barf.
wasn't no
Please don't
fucking
talk about that
instant.
beady.
Hey,
That
I
beady will
remember.
make me throw up.
Hey, them motherfuckers will give you a head rush quick to the some.
But I
Woo!
just remember being young doing that. That was like, I'm an OG now. I remember being young. That was when I was young and healing that shit. I remember when I was young doing that, the beaties and having Tampas and shit like that. That's
Yeah,
why I was like, people be like Black Miles. I was like, man, I was smoking half a Tampas when your ass wasn't even born. That
yeah,
wood stick, you know what I'm saying? So I was been
yeah.
smoking that shit. But yeah, man, I stopped all that tobacco shit. Sometimes I smoke a blunt or a grab a leaf,
Uh
but generally I just smoke weed, but just smoke papers.
huh. Okay.
You know,
Well,
yeah.
all right,
But
brother. I ain't gonna hold you up no more, man. Shit, it's about time to wrap it up anyway. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
yeah, you too, my brother. I'm glad to be on your program, man. Congratulations on your program, and I'll
Yeah, we
definitely
just
look to
trying to.
tap back in with you when I get something going.
Yeah, we definitely trying to get this Shasha money. Like I want you to go back because you carry that Dame Selassie. So I want you to go back and watch the first episode. If I gotta
Mhm.
send you the link,
I
it's
will.
it's two segments. So it's one where Zion is on her way to Shashamani in Ethiopia. So you get to see the travel there. And then the second part is her there arriving. Um, one of the brothers greeting us outside, telling us a little story about how they burnt down the church and stuff. And this is the grounds where Bob Marley went to go get baptized into Rastafari.
Oh, word.
So we got to speak to Raska Benda, who's one of the priests over there now, and me, I had him cracking up. We had a little time after, but he spit some stuff in there, so it was kind of cool, man, to check it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure,
Because
man.
that name that you carry, that brother made sure that those people had that over there when they was all in the war. Make sure they had 250 acres, and now they call it Shasha money. But now it's starting to get overpopulated, and they're going through some stuff over there.
Yeah, Selassie was an interesting brother. He claimed lineage from the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon,
Mm-hmm.
and Menelik. Menelik is his descendant. Yeah, he's interesting, but a lot of people forget that Selassie was from Ethiopia,
Yeah.
and that's in Africa, and he is associated with Jamaica, which is so I look at it more like the Jamaicans in Jamaica adopted Haile
No.
Selassie, um,
Well,
as far
well,
as as far as
well,
that's concerned. But you could ask a lot of people, and they'll think that it originated in Jamaica, but it's actually African. And so that's
well,
that's my
well,
my
well.
thing.
From my understanding, with speaking to the brother over there, is that during the slave trade,
Hmm.
that's where a lot of them were dropped off, and they continue to practice Rastafari in
Right,
Jamaica, and then
for
that's
sure.
where, and then some went back, and then that was during the time where um, Marcus Garvey tried to come with the Black Line and had the
Hmm.
ships to take everybody back and whatnot. You know what I mean? So there was some people that actually returned home to Shashamani, you
Uh-huh.
know, and Roscoe Benda, who I spoke to, is one of them. So there's a lot of other elders that have passed away that returned back. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
he finally came back. He's been back for 30 years.
word. Yeah, because
So
a
that's
lot
why
of times they get they because people don't know that um
the
that
Rastafaris come from Ethiopia.
right.
Shashamani.
It's
Yeah.
more associated with Jamaica because, like, quite frankly, Bob Marley and reggae music made it more popular, made it more mainstream. But Rastafari has been around a long time and
Yeah.
have been following the ways of Selassie for a long time before it became mainstream. But Bob Marley, the Wailers, and Peter Tosh and the old school reggae guys made it, you could call it mainstream to make it to where people even cared about it at first. I remember seeing an article, hearing a radio interview about somebody talking about Bob Marley in 1978, and he was not what he was today. You know what I'm saying? They called him like a pot smoking demagogue. So you know what I'm saying? So but he did a lot to popularize Rastafarian culture, and then him coming from Jamaica was also, I'm sure, a nail in the, a good contributing factor why people associated, you know, Rastafarians with just Jamaica, but not taking the origins that they come from Africa, from Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cats was wearing dreads. Samson was wearing dreads. That's biblical, and that was in Africa.
I wish I can get Zion on right now. Because that's what she's.
It'd be interesting to talk to him, man. But
No, not her. I mean, not him.
Her.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Zion, if you're watching, tap in.
No, it's But yeah,
because that's what this whole thing is about. She actually went over there to get the blessings of Shashemonie, and what they got going on, to bring it back to the states and start it here. So she's bringing back more than the cannabis. She's bringing back teff. Are you familiar with what teff is?
No, not off the top.
She's been rapping and raving about it. I got to be honest. I got to do my homework a little bit more on it. You know what I mean? But she's so like strung on that, and so I got to do my homework. She brought me over here for cannabis, so I'm trying to do my cannabis first. But I've been listening to her on this teff product. That she went over there getting the teff seeds, and like I said, got the blessings, and it made much more sense on why she's doing it over here. So I'm like,
Well,
I'm really down.
The cannabis industry is in danger as well, because it's a $1 trillion, $1 billion business. So anytime you have all that kind of money, because quite frankly, to see the growth of everything in the last 5 years since 2017 is absolutely incredible. To the point to where I'm going to go study law to be a marijuana attorney, a medical marijuana attorney. So it's a brand new field. It's a brand new horizon. It's a brand new industry, and it is the wild west. Because I'm knee deep in the cannabis industry on the entertainment side, but also knowing some big players in the game, and it's wild west with distributors, products, everything. It is a whole new world. So not just black or brown, because there are black and brown people and pieces in the industry like everything else, but we could find ourselves trapped or locked out of it, or not getting the huge benefits of it, just like everything else. So that's not like a surprise in what I'm saying. I mean, that is how it is. Minority people less than the have-nots get locked out of the huge opportunities that come from anything. And I see that marijuana industry as well.
If you're not the house, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, and play your cards right.
Yeah.
And if you
But
can
like
play your cards right,
you can get in. You can get in when you fit in. You can do some underground marijuana.
You ain't gonna never break the house. Just like you wouldn't want nobody to come in your house and break you.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So you can't break the house. So as long as if there's $1 trillion,
yeah,
man, all I need is a billion out of that, a 500 million, 400 million. You know what I'm saying? So You don't go in there trying to be greedy like this, that. Just find your corner, find your pilot, find your desk, post
I
up.
think there is progress. I think there is progress. Without no struggle, there is no progress, and that is
Mm-hmm.
from Frederick Douglass.
Yeah, it's still a little struggle going on in it, but they working out the kinks.
Without
You
no
know.
struggle, there is no progress. So we'll get
Mm-hmm.
there. But yeah, I'm not knocking anybody, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I'm just saying that I always preach this. I always preach us owning stuff, us having our own, us doing our own thing. Even not just black people or a specific color, but poor people or people that are have-nots. Like to figure out, because I'm a have-not, so I come from the have-not. So I'm always trying to figure out a way of trying to have something that we can own and we can have from our own, individually and collectively. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we can learn how to get that. Because right now it doesn't it's lopsided. You have 89% of African Americans smoking weed, but maybe 1.2% of the people owning the farms. So it's just like the football team. You got 75% black people on the football field, and you have no black football owners.
Yeah.
You got 80% black people on the basketball field, and there's only one basketball
Well,
owner, which is Michael Jordan.
like I said, I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself. You know what I mean? I had the opportunity to get 13 acres, and you know what I mean. I can testify to that nobody wanted
I
to
hope
come in and pitch in. You know what I'm
that
saying?
sucks.
So,
Yeah, and that's a deeper
so
thing
it
too. But
yeah, so it be opportunities, but sometimes you know what I mean. I don't know what it is. Like you know what I mean. I remember they used to have me go and speaking down like a city council or city hall, and the first time they passed this cannabis thing here, equity, they was like, "Oh, we got $1 million," and everybody started clapping. Well, I went up and spoke. I was like, "Well, look, I'm gonna tell you this: $1 million ain't nothing." You know what I'm saying? Like we need more than that to get this party going. Like $1 million is probably just barely enough for one person to get an operation going. You know what I mean?
yeah, we'll figure it out. I appreciate the talk tonight, man. Thank you for letting me be on your podcast. Let's get it in.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. So Emerald Cup, what date is it? Let the people know what date it is.
December 10th, December 11th, Saturday and Sunday in Santa Rosa Fairgrounds in Santa Rosa, California. Get
Check
your
my man.
tickets. Go to the Emerald Cup on Instagram or go check them out on their website. And again, shouts out to Tim Blake. Shouts out to the whole staff. Shouts out to everybody having me, Catherine, all the big dogs. And thank you so much. And thank you again for having me on your show tonight, brother. Medical Montana,
Pleasure.
and continue blessings with your show and you trying to get deeper in the game in the cannabis.
Trying to, man. Trying to, man. It was a pleasure, man. I
Pleasure, brother.
appreciate you, brother.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right now.
One love.
One love. All right, y'all. I think that concludes it. My blunt is gone. Spent 2 hours, 10 minutes. We learned about Jack Herrera. We had a good conversation with my brother right there, one of the hosts at the Emerald Cup and a talented MC. And as you can tell, it's just a well spoken brother, man. You know what I mean? So, been knowing him for a minute. You know, I always stay tapped in. I want y'all to stay tapped in. We had a couple more viewers come in. Thank you for joining. I think we had Huey. Huey was in the comments. Appreciate that, brother. We're gonna have some dope shows. We tried to get the Po Hop to come in with a little bit of consciousness for some of the people that I deal with. I couldn't make it down to the show tonight, so I tried to incorporate them. But they put on a good show down here where they have conscious brothers come and sisters come down and do open mic. Well, not even open mic because they don't just sign up. Like these cats is, they be up there spitting they bars. You know what I mean? It's like some real deaf poetry comedy jam going on up there. You know what I mean? So, maybe we can get the internet a little bit better down there. We can get them to come in every once in a while on Thursdays. I think they do it every first Thursday. So I think they're putting together a toy drive. We got to work on that. So yeah, check out Shashemonie420.com. Make sure you tune in there. We got this holiday event going on here in South Sacramento. Don't quote me on the address, but off of Florin Road, we're going to be having turkeys. We got hams. We got the fixins. We're working on shoes and toys for the kids. You know what I mean? We're coming back, giving back to the community. It's going to be real big. Trying to work on some Christmas trees for, you know what I mean, some of the families. So not that you can't go buy the Christmas tree, but if we can help you to save money and, you know what I mean, or take that money and put it somewhere else, put it on a bill, you know what I mean? Holidays come up and, you know, we get behind on our bills because we don't want our kids to not going without having, or, you know, even if they Christmas present is a coat, you know what I mean? We might have one for you. So check the website. We're going to be posting more flyers. We got one coming. We're going to be posting that all through social media. But we're going to add some more stuff to it. So be on the lookout. Shashemonie420, Shashemonie Micro Business, and the Shashemonie Institute. We're doing a lot of good things over here behind the scenes. It's coming together. So be aware. We're coming. Thank you for signing in. Good night.